website, take a look at our socials. There's a lot going on this week, starting with Amanda from Vonage. So yeah, without too much more, I'll pass over to Amanda. If you have any questions, just let us know in the chat throughout. I'll be monitoring that. So yeah, just let us know. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Alex. Just a self-description for accessibility. I'm a Latina woman. I think my camera is off. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, so I'm a Latina woman. I have brown long hair. I'm wearing a white t-shirt with a Women Tech Makers logo. I'm a geek. I love nerd stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in my background, like action figures, Japanese action figures, and there's other things related to technology, like Google Assistant, telephone, and you name it. There's a lot of things in there. Anyway, Alex, just to double check, everything is correct here. You can see my screen, right?
You may need to share the screen again. The screen's gone and your camera's gone for some reason, but there you go.
Okay, so that was good. I did the accessibility self-introduction because otherwise people wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so how do I share my screen? The button is gone. I see 7 people are here, and I would like you to introduce yourself. Tell me where you're connecting from whilst I put my presentation back on.
I was going to say, get involved. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how you're feeling about the hack as well. This is the first session we've got going on this week, so we're all very excited. I think there's also possibly a poll. I can see we've had some people voting already.
I'm going to come back, Alex, just a second. There's no sharing, but do say what Alex is doing.
No worries. Yeah, I'll kind of carry it on. That's fine. Trust us, it was all fine in the rehearsal. We'll be all right. But yeah, there's a couple of polls, so make sure you're voting on that. Let us know in the chat kind of who you are, how you're feeling, what you're doing, and whether or not you're looking forward to it. It wouldn't be a proper thing if we didn't have a few tech issues anyway, would it?
The presentation is gone. Like, I don't have a button to share.
That's fine. You should be able to upload it on the right-hand side where it says slides and add a new presentation, and we can just chat to people in the meantime while that's
okay.
And that should be relatively easy to do.
But I need some screen sharing. Okay.
And we've got a Grace from the UK, based in Berlin. Very exciting. And are you kind of, I think the other thing that would be interesting to know from people actually, both for this session and going forward into the hack, is kind of like levels of experience. So for this hack, we like to, oh, there we go. The screen is back there. And but yeah, just to kind of carry on that, it's kind of like experience levels. It's good to kind of get an idea of whether people are graduates, people are looking, you know, we want to kind of engage, inspire, I think champion, encourage, inspire is kind of our tagline with this event. So, you know, we hope that there's going to be a combination of expertise. So both experts, professionals, students, and people who have never done a hackathon before, people who have done lots of hackathons before. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see the different experience levels. So it'd be great to know that throughout. And I'll stop rambling and let Amanda get on with it.
Okay, we have the screen working again. Thank you very much, Alex. As he said, we have polls here. I would really like this to be as interactive as possible. I see that 100% people here voted that it's their very first time building chatbots. So I'm very glad to be here in your journey to learn how to build chatbots. Okay, so just to say, it's an honor to be here today. We've been talking, Alex, Jess, we've been talking about this event for months, and I can't believe it finally came true. So very, very glad to talk to you folks today. So we have seen a shift on the way that people have been using technology along the years. I don't know what was your first device when you started using computers or the internet. Maybe you can share here in the chat. But for me, I started using Windows. And I remember the very first versions, you had to memorize on how to get to each command. And nowadays, we have the opportunity to communicate using voice. It's very interesting also to see babies. If you put an iPhone on their hands, many of them are even able to unlock it. Now, I can't imagine me as a baby starting to use technology the way that I did many years ago. So people are doing browse searches using voice. There is also, I use this a lot because so I'm originally from Brazil, and in there we do a lot of sending audio to talking to people, but other people don't really like or have time to listen to audio. So I use a lot of speech to text that there is on my Android phone. There is like a white microphone button that I can press the button, and then it takes what I'm saying into text. So I've been using this extensively in my personal life, but we can also get these automations and build things that make sense to us. I have lots of projects to share to give you some suggestions, no matter if you work with it, if you're a student, just to give you some inspiration in that sense. And I'm really looking forward to talking about that. And I realized I haven't introduced myself other than the self-description. My name is Amanda Cavallaro. I work as a developer advocate at a company called Vonage. I'm also a recognized Google Developers Expert for the Google Assistant, Firebase, and Cloud ML Conversational AI. And I'm really thrilled to see what the people in here have to share with me in this conversation we're going to have today. So let's talk about Dialogflow, which is the tool that we're going to use today to build chatbots. It's formerly known as API AI. And I remember the day that this tool changed to be called Dialogflow. I was giving a talk at Techno Day in London, and I opened the website and it was named Dialogflow. I panicked because I wasn't really expecting that. But anyway, it's been Dialogflow for many years now. And it is a natural language understanding tool used to build conversational user interfaces. And basically, what we create is something called an agent. It is a Dialogflow instance. You can think of it of your chatbot application, and it allows you to take what the users are saying, generate questions, make API requests, may it be free or paid APIs, and provide your users with answers. And also you can add it to kind of like an app store, let's say, for chatbots. The ones for Google are called Actions, and the ones for, let's say, I don't know, Amazon are called Skills. Maybe you've heard that name before. So basically create those apps, those actions that can be available just to the people in your, let's say, test versions, or even published to a directory that other people might have access to it. I see that many people here introduce themselves, so feel free to ask questions along the way or at the end of the talk. I'd like this to be as interactive as possible. And there are also many enterprises currently using Dialogflow today. There are many building blocks which are easy to integrate to the Google Cloud. There is a Google Cloud support and service level agreement available. There is extensive documentation and training programs available. There is also a powerful IAM, which means that you can assign roles to people that are going to interact with your conversational AI. May it be your friends, people from your company. There is also Stack driver integration, which for me is great because I can check the logs whenever something is not working as intended. And there is unlimited API call quotas. There are many versions of editions of Dialogflow. There is the trial, the essentials trial. There is also the new one, Dialogflow CX, which is more focused on enterprise and consumer experience call centers. So there's a lot to do with Dialogflow. And from 2018, people started to experience with conversational AI, and this conversational AI tool called Dialogflow, and it has a use base of more than 1.5 million users. It became popular because of the outstanding NLP, the underlying machine learning models for understanding text and voice, just like I was talking to you in the beginning of this conversation. And because it's simple. If you're someone who doesn't know how to code, there is a good interface for you to start building things out. There's also ways for you to interact with other people who might know more about code, who might know more about building the conversation, because it's important to design it well. Dialogflow allows you to build prototypes faster. It expands on the training phrases that you provide. And there are a number of pre-built agents that can get you up running quickly. And by default, your agent responds to a matched intent with a static response, a dummy response. If you're using one of the integration options, you can provide a more dynamic response by using Fulfilment. When you enable Fulfilment for an intent being what the user is saying, what we have available, and the answer to them, Dialogflow responds to that intent by calling a service that you define. For instance, if an end user wants to schedule, they want to book a table for 2 on Friday, your service can check your database and respond to the end user with the availability information for Friday as requested. And when I built my very first chatbot using Ruby on Rails, it took me months to get that up and running. I wasn't using Dialogflow. And when I finished doing it, my boss at the time asked me, so how can we connect? How easy would it be for us to connect it with different platforms? Back then, I did it only for Facebook Messenger. And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I did everything here by hand, and I don't know how easy it is for me to connect. So it would require a lot of research. And also, what was the other thing that I wanted to see about this? So there was the problem of the connecting to more platforms. I forgot now, I'm probably going to get back to that later. But, oh, I remember now. And also the matching exactly what the user would say. So if the user had to say exactly what I had matched for them. So if they said a sentence, even with one letter or with a word that is a synonym, it wouldn't be able to understand. I did use an algorithm using called the edit distance or the Liebig-Stein, but it would only understand from like a couple of letters. But using Dialogflow, you can train your phrases so that words that are not even grammatically close the way that you write them, but have the same synonym. I don't know, how are you and how strict. You can match them to meaning the same thing. And also, because it is a Google product, you know when you're Google searching something and you don't quite write the word the way it is supposed to, but it suggests to you like something close to it. So these types of technology are also available to you. So you don't have to match exactly what you're saying. So with Dialogflow, you can deploy it to different places in different languages and on different platforms. There are different types of bots. At times, you just want to ask a simple question such as turn on the lights, or I don't know, just like a quick search. Others, it makes sense to have a longer conversation, especially with contact center. We want it to be remembered. We want that the thing that we complained or that we requested to be there available for us. So you might have come across different types of chatbots. Chatbots in websites, apps, social media like Facebook Messenger, Slack, smart assistants like Google Assistant, Alexa, Siri on phones and devices like Nest Hub, watches, TVs, chatbots integrated with IVR systems, phone reservation systems, contact centers, chatbots in advertising, which are discoverable and usable from apps and websites within a display ad unit. I see that people are quite silent here in the chat, so don't worry, you're not going to interrupt me. Just ask your questions at any given time. So many chatbots on the web are used as knowledge bases or FAQs to collect feedback, to make searches within websites, to use messaging applications on social media, So there's a lot that you can do. And how can you build your own action on top of the Google Assistant? You can extend the functionalities that you see on the Google Assistant on your actions that you create. If you search for Google Assistant directory, you can see the directory containing all the actions that were published and available in your language or country. You can find actions which were created by Google, by many companies, by other developers, by me, by many people, and you can even add yours to there. So what do you need to create your own action? You need to create your dialogue, right? What the user is going to say, what you're going to reply, so to really design the conversation. Then you're going to deploy it to the Google Assistant, submit it to be reviewed by the Dialogflow team, and optionally you can connect it to back-end integrations using Fulfilment. And you can use your own APIs whilst you're doing that. So we're talking about extending the functionalities of actions on Google. So what are they all about? It's about making the chatbots you create available on smart speakers, phones, and other devices, just like the ones that I have here. You can also use UI components to showcase your rich data. So you could add carousels, buttons, images. Of course, it depends. If you're going to use like one of these Google Home devices here, they don't have a screen. So you have to make sure that your fallback is including people. Sometimes people are not going to have devices with screens. Sometimes people are going to come from countries like mine, which are still in development, like in Brazil, that people might not be able to afford good phones, like smartphones with screens and everything. So you have to build with all these people in mind, otherwise your application is not going to be accessible to people, and that's one of the fundamentals of the internet, making sure that we are inviting everyone to the conversation. So you can use these UI components, and okay, the question is not for me, it's about certificate. So you can use these UI components, or you might not use them because maybe it's just an FAQ or something simpler. So I see that each day more and more people from different backgrounds are interacting with voice, with Google Assistant, Alexa skills. I find it amazing when my parents interact with their devices using voice. The Google Assistant has over 1 billion users, and people are curious and expect the brands to be found there. They'd like to communicate with voice. If not on virtual assistants, it's expected to be able to communicate with a brand on some platform, may it be WhatsApp, not Facebook anymore, now it's Meta, smart speakers. So people would like to talk to your company. And you can visualize the architecture as per the image I'm sharing here. So when the user speaks to their smart speaker, they will be interacting with the Google Assistant. And many of the questions and answers, the training data, are going to be fetched from what you created using your Dialogflow agent. Let me share some project ideas with you that I told you in the very beginning of this conversation. Some of the things that I've built along the way for my own personal interests. I got married in a country where I wasn't born, with people who spoke 3 different languages. And it was taking a toll on me to reply to all of the questions. So why not build a chatbot that is available in 3 in 3 languages? And then every time one of the guests would ask me a question, I would add it to my data. So I trained the chatbot with all the questions that the guests were asking me, and the things that I also anticipated they might ask, ideas of hotels and other things. So this was totally personal, and it really helped me out. Another one is that you can create open source projects. I created CloudRobe, which is my wardrobe in the cloud. It is open source. If you look for my GitHub, Amanda Cavallaro, and CloudRobe, you can also contribute. So you can build things and get the internet, the people from the community, to really bring their ideas and their perspectives. So there's also the opportunity for open source. Also, one day I was, this is my mother-in-law, I was in her house and I looked at her recipe book and I thought, God forbid something happens to this book. All of the recipes are there and we don't want it to get lost. So why not bring your recipe book? I'm sure you have one in your house, or maybe from an elderly person in your house, that all of the recipes of the family, all the secrets are there. So bring them to the cloud. Do something like, if someone asks, so what is the recipe for the secret family pizza? And then there are the steps. Maybe you could add something which is visual for the smart speakers, or just something with voice, because maybe the person has the Google Home in a place, or any other assistant enabled device that they might not be able to look at the screen. They just want step number one. And then it's very smart because you can do things like previous step, next step, without having to stop and really, I don't know, dirty your hands, like dirty the book with your hands, because you might, they might be temporarily unavailable. That's a difficult word in English. So just look around your house and think of ideas that you can bring. Also, another idea that I really like, a chatbot to see if the people in your house already watered your plant so that the plant doesn't die of too much or too little water. Someone wrote here in the chat, that is a genius use case. Wedding management can be very stressful. I agree with you, my friend. There is also the human escalation protocol that I built with JonSkit. So JonSkit, I'm not sure if you're aware of his, but he is the user #1 on Stack Overflow. And we built something together. We built a demo for a presentation for, it was called Mentor Search. So basically we used the vampire data created by Tracy Lee, Lady Leet on Twitter. So she created this amazing, how can I call it, like a directory that you can find women and allies around the world who are conference organizers, speakers, basically people, if you're ever organizing an event and you say, oh, I don't find people from diverse groups to invite, so you don't have that excuse anymore, you can go and check that list. So anyway, we got that list, we added to a database using Firestore. And then we created a chatbot that we could ask them, like, I would like to find someone that can mentor me with Python based in the UK. And then we created like a fake phone number to use sentiment analysis. So whenever someone would say something with a negative connotation, like, oh, I don't think this is for me, I'm not good enough, I'm very sad, this is not working, it would then escalate the call to a real person. In this case, it was just my phone number and John's that we bought virtual numbers for this demonstration. But you could really see how powerful it is. And I can even think, like, nowadays, think of when you're making calls, especially when you're making a complaint for a consumer support. And then you don't want, like, as a person working at the company, you don't want to lose your user. You don't want them to get to a point they're going to hang up or they're going to be, I don't know, speaking ill of your product. When you see that the conversation is getting like a negative, like a sentiment analysis, which is negative, you could then maybe escalate them right away to a real person. So you can escalate it to a real human or agent, which is also very interesting, because one of the things that the chatbot allows you to do is not having to have someone available at all times. So you could write something along the lines of, so we have someone who is available to take your questions from 9 to 5:30. Right now, it's not within those times, but we have some FAQs that maybe we could help you out. So many of the questions that you can see that people are asking and they are already there, they could be reused without having to have people working there at all times. And there is a telephone interface on Dialogflow as well. But right now it's called a Dialogflow phone gateway, but right now it only accepts, it's in beta, but it only accepts phone, like when you create an account, an integration using it, only US phone numbers are available. So there is that limitation. But you can use, I'm going to get back to that a little bit later on how you can use some of the credits from my company to use that, and I'm going to give like free credits, so you don't have to spend any money to do that. So let's see some of the Dialogflow fundamentals before we're going to kind of create something together here and do the integrations. But just because, let me just get back to the poll. 100% of the people haven't created a chatbot before, so let's learn some of the fundamentals. There is something called context. You know, when you're talking about something, for instance, I am traveling to London next week. Oh, when are you traveling there? What are nice things that I can do in there? What's the weather in there? So you can see that I didn't say London at all times, but it kept the context. And then you can say for how many times you would like the lifespan on each question to be. So if person says this, make sure you just ask 3 follow-up questions, or ask, if you don't understand, just ask a couple of times, so that it keeps the context not for longer than needed. And then there is also the input and the output context that you can add. So for instance, if I say something and I would like that to be carried out to the next question, I can also use these to control the flow of the conversation. I'm going to give a very high level explanation here because we don't have a lot of time, but I will share my contact later on. If you'd like to ask questions or let me know anything, just it's going to be available here. Intent. So intents are the training phrases, the phrases that we train that the users might say to your chatbot. We have actions and parameters like location, date, time, duration. We have also the responses, what is going to be sent back to the user. And then we also have entities, which are types of information that we will extract from the conversation. And remember that I told you about synonyms. So let's say that I create an entity called S. And then I say that S, when we're buying a t-shirt, that could be S, small, tiny, little. M could be medium, average. So especially people who are maybe from different countries, or they speak, I don't know, with different accents, different slangs. So they might say things in different ways. Especially in my country, we have so many different words for the same word, so many synonyms. So it's also interesting to add those so that your users are talking the same language as you. So you can extract those from the conversation. These are the entities. For instance, on my wedding, one entity that I created was flip-flops, because in Brazil we give flip-flops to women. Not all weddings, some people like to do it because at the dancing time they don't want to be on their heels, so we give flip-flops so they can be more comfortable. And there are also, so this is a custom type of entity. There are also the system entities. So whenever you go, let me see if I have it open here. So I have one entity here, one intent here. And let me just say that I'm saying 1, 2, 3 street name. You can see that it recognized 1, 2, 3 a name. This was not a good example. Hang on, let me try something better. 10, I don't know, avenue. What's a good name for an avenue, folks? Any avenue that you know the name. Oh God, I don't know any avenues in here in London. Help me out. Street, avenue, street. It didn't really, think of one that you know or something. I'm really struggling here with English. 1, 2, 3. It's so hard to think on the spot. I don't know, Adele Street, is it going to understand? No, let me think of a better example since I can't think of a street name right now. Ooh, it's hard being live. Let me write something like 10 pounds. It understood 10 as time. I think, you know why? It's because I have other training data here. Let me just create a new one. Let's create an intent. Let's name it street. Let's see, 10. Someone gave me a good example. Oak Street. Someone said Oak Street or Avenue. Let's have Oak Avenue as well. 1 Oak Avenue. And then sometimes it doesn't really give you, let me show you here. Okay, so this is a better example. So you can see these are the system entities. They start with sys, and then you have like unit volume, geocity, number. Let's see if I can find the one, street address. So I trained this first one and I said that this format is going to be a street address. Let me try another one here, Chancery Lane. So let's try 20 Chancery Lane. I don't know if it's an avenue, it's a lane, right? Let's see if you understand. No, wasn't able. So let me train this one again. So this is something that happens, especially when you're not doing something in English. It doesn't really understand. Let me save this. 1 second. Let me think of another one that I have here. 1, 3, 2, 3, 4. Oak Avenue. Okay, this thing is against me today. It's not really saving it. But anyway, if it doesn't, this is good when you have trouble online. You can train it and then you can say that these are the formats of the data that you're expecting. Oops, I misclicked it. And also, people might not say the same thing in like in the same format, but they might say something like, I'd like to go to 234 Chancery Lane. And then you train this data. Okay, so this is about the system entities. These are entities that were previously created by Google and they're available for you. So you don't have to train this data many times. Let me try something else like, I don't know, 10 kilos. Okay, it understood. Let me think of something else that we had as entity here. Let me see if it understands centimeters. Okay, it understood centimeters. I don't know, maybe a phone number. I don't know if I wrote the exact. Okay, it understood number, not phone number. Do I have any names here on the chat? Let's see, I see an Isabella. It understood person's name. So these are the system entities. Oof, in the end, I managed to show you this working. I feel better now. It's so bad when things don't work when you're live. Anyway, so these are entities. And then we also have integrations. So once you build this, remember when I told you I built my chatbot, spent months and months creating the Facebook Messenger one. And then if I had to learn how to build it for a different platform, I don't know how I would do it. But using platforms like this, you can easily integrate it with different platforms. So you could, for instance, just click a button here and then I'm going to explain a very high level. You would receive a token, add it to the app, like the token in there, make sure that it connects, and then it would work. Let me show you an integration that I have here for this app. So you can interact with it now. So I hope that you have access to a website now because I will show this live to you. Let me just show you what this is all about. So once the person interacts with your conversational UI for the first time, they're going to enter the default welcome intent. They're going to say something along the line, I'm here just to say hi, hello, howdy, how are you doing? And then this is the text response that I wrote. Welcome to the Athena demonstration. What date, time, and topic would you like to book a meeting? So this is a chatbot to book a meeting. So after that, I created one intent called book a meeting. And I trained some of the phrases like this. Can we talk at time, on date, about, and this is the topics. I use technologies. And then for the entities, I created an entity called topic. And inside of topic, I created many things. And for some of them, I created synonyms. For instance, GCP, people might say Google Cloud Platform. So I added some synonyms. Anyway, we go back to book a meeting. And then we also have the parameters that people were asking here. And in case one of the information is not given, if you don't give me the time or the date, I'm going to send you prompt messages asking for that specific information. And then here I have a dummy response called 30-minute meeting booked for date time. And I enabled webhook calls. That means, let me change my screen here. That means that I'm getting my back end from somewhere. It's not just a dummy response. I could use a webhook that might not be anything related to Google Cloud. I could have something with, I don't know, tell me some databases that you use over there in the chat, people. We could use MongoDB, Microsoft SQL, or I don't know, some things that have nothing to do with the Google Cloud. So you would use a webhook, or you could use the inline editor, which is powered by the Google Cloud Functions, previously called Firebase Cloud Functions. And basically what I'm doing here is I have my code in the index.js and the package.json. If I would like to use this from this web page, I can only have these two files. If I would like to create more files to be pushed, then I could use my text editor or IDE, and then I could have, let's say, a tree with more files. So let's quickly have a look at what I'm doing here. I'm importing the dependencies that I need. One of them, I'm going to use Vonage, which is the company that I work for. We're going to use one of the APIs, and we're going to say that the SMS, once you book the, so you booked the meeting with me, I'm going to send you an SMS, and the name received is going to be Athena Demo, and then there's going to be the phone number. I deleted these things here because they are sensitive information to me. These are my API keys, API secrets, and my phone number. But I pushed this cloud function using these information, but just to show you now, I removed them. And then what I'm going to say is, once you are in that intent called book a meeting, let me go back here, it's called the exact name, book a meeting. I am going to use the Vonage send SMS method, sending a message saying, meeting booked at time and date. And if there is an error, I also added an error message here. And I also added one more line here that not only you're going to receive a message on your phone, but you're also going to receive it from here. So I don't know if you're up for a challenge here. I'm going to look very bad if you don't interact with it because I have my phone on my hand for you to interact with me. So let me share. I'm going to use one of the integrations that we have, web-based. I'm going to enable it. Okay, I have this URL here. I just have to add an information here. So demonstration for Athena. Okay, so let's go to the integrations, web demo. Okay, let me see if this is going to work now. So sent you the link here. Sorry, if you mentioned before, but do you have your codes demo on GitHub or published somewhere? Yes, I do. It's one of my following slides. So we'll get there. But right now, let's interact with this demo right here. So let me see if I can open it here. Okay, so we would say something, hi, welcome. I'd like to book a meeting on the, let me get back to the chat here. If you would like to give me suggestions here or interact from your, let me have my phone here in case anyone's sending messages so you can see it's happening. On the 22nd of August at, I don't know, 2 p.m. we're going to talk about Angular. It's been a while, I don't code anything in Angular. Let's see if it understood. Okay, I sent a message. Okay, I don't know if you can see here, but I just received a message from Athena Demo with the booked meeting. So let me keep this on just to see if anyone else is going to send a message. Okay, the this happens, but you could see I showed it working live. So this is the type of things. I added my phone number here to interact. So if you were to use my exact demo, it wouldn't work. You would have to, of course, add your phone number and different things. Let's go, because I only have 5 minutes left and I got so excited about doing these things. So here we could see how we could use an integration. So when you enable the fulfillment for an intent, Dialogflow responds to that by calling the service that you define. And when you set up your webhook, you pass information from a matched intent into a web service and get a result from it, just like you saw my SMS being sent. So there are a number of different projects that you can create using only static text, integrating it to different platforms. So there's a lot that can be done. So for the people who would like, the URL is not working for me. Oh, yeah, I think it's because I had this problem here. Sorry about that I had to, when I clicked here, it said that I set icon and description for better user experience. I haven't added let me paste it again. Maybe it's that. See if that works for you. If not, might be because I haven't added all the information here. But you could see at least here quickly how to work with that. So if you'd like to try out sending SMS messages using video APIs, using different things, you can use, I think I have here in the history that I talked to you, Alex, now it's the time that I need you to paste a link that I showed in the beginning because I don't have my history here anymore. So if you'd like to try out using the Vonage API integrations, I have a free credit for you of 10 euros to try today. So you can try these types of integrations. Oh, yeah, thank you so much, Alex. So you could create an account there, and then there's this voucher that you can try it out for free. So what we could do here, we go to dashboard.nextmo.com or identity.nextmo.com. You create an account, and then you create an application, you give it a friendly name. And then remember when I showed you in my code that I added the API keys and the number. So from within here, I would buy a virtual number. And then I could also use things like Messages API Sandbox, and I could create apps which are integrated to WhatsApp, Viber. Is it called Meta Messenger now? Is it still Facebook Messenger? By adding the corresponding webhooks URL generated from my app. So once I finish building the project using the Vonage APIs and everything is set up, we can use the sandbox to develop and test the application. So basically from, I have my phone here. I see more people tested the app. Thank you for doing that. So I would go like on WhatsApp and I could test talking to that. And then after I could publish it to more people. So I do not think I'm going to have time to go into this, but as Lee requested, I'm going to share the links to like my GitHub project so you can have a look. So we could connect the Dialogflow agent also to use other agents of the Google Cloud. And then we would create an API key for App Engine default service. App Engine is a cloud computing platform as a service for developing and hosting web applications in Google managed data centers, and applications are sandboxed and run across multiple servers. So here you can see a little bit of the code that I used to create a chatbot to integrate with WhatsApp, and I use ngrok for tunneling, and it was built in the Portuguese language. And this demo allows you to create a WhatsApp chatbot integrated with Dialogflow Essentials using Vonage Messages API and the Node.js. So if you'd like to see the code and play more with it, you can head to my GitHub repo and check it out. So Lee, who asked here for the code, if you go to Amanda Cavallaro, the projects that I listed here, they're all pinned to my, how do you call it, to my profile? I think that's what it's called. So to finish up. I have 1 minute. So you can make also phone calls to Dialogflow agents using Dialogflow Essentials and the Vonage WebSockets integration. Remember when I told you that when you're using the solution from Dialogflow, you could only use US phone numbers. So you can buy numbers like programming virtual numbers from different many countries around the world, and we could use a WebSocket connection to do so. I will not have time to go through this, but I wrote a very extensive blog post about it. Alex, if you still have the link over there, I'm also sharing a link about all the blog posts that I've written so far. Thank you so much, Alex. And if you'd like to talk to me, one more link, if you could please share my LinkedIn. I know the conversation here was quite quick, but I'm here available, so let's chat. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm very active on social media, and I hope we can connect there, continue the conversation. And this was the very first talk of the entire Athena hack, and I don't know, it was a lot of pressure, so I hope I did so at least, and I'm ready to take questions if you have any for me.
It was very good. Thank you very much. I certainly enjoyed it, so hopefully everyone else did as well. As you say, let us know if you've got any questions now in the chat. We can kind of go through them. We've got 10 or 15 minutes. For anyone watching it retrospectively as well, when we upload it and stuff, you can ask us questions on Discord. As Amanda says, she's very active, so either connect on LinkedIn or we can ask or whatever it may be. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I think while people kind of mull that over and have a think to see whether or not they have anything, I guess I kind of wanted to ask, as you were going through all the many things you've done, but whether or not you have a favorite chatbot project you've done.
Okay, so that's the first question, my favorite one.
Well, that's my question. Just while everyone thinks, that's my question.
Sorry, do you mean like my favorite project or my favorite technology?
I guess go both.
Okay, so I build a lot of things in the Google ecosystem. When API.ai started, you could choose if you would like to host using Heroku or using the Google Cloud. But now, because it's a Google Cloud product, I really like to be in that ecosystem because I create something using actions on Google or Dialogflow. Then to use my database, I'm already in that ecosystem, so I use Firebase. I can use Firestore or real-time database. And then if I'd like to make other connections using other building blocks, I can use what's available from the Google Cloud. But there are tons of available there. I'm not saying it's better or worse. And just a pinpointing to that, I do not have the thing like, what is best, Angular or React or anything like that. The best thing is the best thing that works for your project. So don't be like, oh, okay, Dialogflow now is the best thing in the world. This is just something that I show to you, but there are many things out there. And my favorite project, I think you can tell by my presentation, can you guess? It was the wedding one. It was something, I guess, wedding is one of these rite of passages, and I spent a lot of time, and it was very personal. So I could really see something helping me out in action.
I thought that may be the answer, and I think that was
You're right.
So thank you very much. Cool. Well, there's been a few thank yous in the chat. I think I will just reiterate that again and say thank you very much for joining it. As I say, I've certainly found it interesting, so hopefully everyone else has too. We'll be uploading it retrospectively, so I'm sure there will be plenty more questions that come in over time. But yeah, a big thank you to everyone for joining. Hopefully you're all looking forward to the rest of the week. Make sure you're on our Discord server. You'll find it on our website. You can kind of ask questions, find out about all the latest sessions, and that's where we'll host the hackathon. So yeah, a big thank you to everyone. First session of Athena all done, and we'll see you later, I'm sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.
Bye.